Hello and welcome to Buy the Book. This episode is a little different because I want to spend a minute just to speak to you directly about where this podcast is going next. Not as a sudden change, but as something that has become clear over time. Now, Buy the Book began as a space to think carefully about work, purpose, and what it means to build something with God at the centre. Not quickly, not reactively, but steadily and with a sense of alignment. Because for many women, particularly in midlife, there comes a point where the question is no longer simply, what could I do? But what would it look like to build something in a way that's faithful, sustainable, and grounded in truth? And that's what this space has been about. But over time, something has become increasingly clear. These conversations were never really just about business. They were about how we live, how we make decisions, how we respond to uncertainty, how we build a life that can actually hold what God is doing in us. And alongside this podcast, I've also been recording She Rises, another podcast where we focus on faith, home, and rebuilding of life more broadly. And what I began to notice is that these weren't two separate conversations. They were the same one. So rather than continuing to hold them apart, it feels right to bring them together, not as a change in direction, but as a natural next step, and bringing together of what always belonged in the same place, which means that the conversations we've been having around discernment, calling, surrender, and building with God will now continue within She Rises. Before I finish, I want to say something very clearly to those of you who've been listening to Buy the Book and quietly holding an idea or a sense of calling or something that you've been meaning to begin. You have more than you think you do. You don't need more information before you start. You don't need more podcast episodes here before you begin. You're completely ready. You don't need everything mapped out in advance. If you've been listening to these episodes, you already have a steady foundation. And you have these conversations to come back to whenever you like. You also have the framework within the book, Buy the Book, if you'd like something a little more structured to walk you through. You have your own life experience, which is often far more connected to what you're being called to offer than you might realise. And above all, you have God, which means you're not starting from nothing. You're starting from something that has already been forming over time. So if there is something in front of you, a business, a ministry, or a piece of work that's been waiting, I would gently encourage you to take a step. It doesn't have to be a huge leap, just a step, because clarity often meets you in the doing, not in the waiting. Everything here will remain. You can come back to these episodes at any point, listen again from a different place, and continue building with a little more steadiness each time. And if you find that you would value someone to walk alongside you as you begin, someone to help you think more clearly, more steadily, and build in a way that's aligned, I do offer mentoring for that. Not as a replacement for what you already have, but as a way of supporting you as you put it all into practice. Because sometimes the difference is not more information, but having someone walk with you as you take the next step. And I say all of this as someone who's doing the same, taking what's been built here and moving it forward into its next expression. So from here, everything will continue within She Rises. That is where I'll be exploring these same things: discernment, calling, boundaries, rebuilding, and the slower work of living in a way that's shaped by Scripture. If you found this space helpful, I would love to welcome you there. Thank you for being part of this. This has been a quieter space, but a meaningful one. And often the quieter work is the work that lasts. So rather than an ending, this is simply a continuation, just in a place where the conversation can sit more fully. And as always, the invitation remains the same: to move steadily, to pay attention, and to build in a way that can hold the life that God is shaping in you. If you'd like to continue, you'll find more at She Rises, Faith, Freedom and Order for Christian Women. Thank you.